the State University of New York at Oswego. This is Oswego Now at 4.
Tonight, a missing sheet of paper could cost the Fulton School District $1 million.
And the state budget aims to prevent the release of mugshots. What surrounding counties think about that?
Plus, a Friendly's employee gives us her story and how the sudden closure will affect her coworkers. Good evening, I'm Josh Holfith.
And I'm Samantha Dominique. 14 Friendly's restaurants across upstate New York closed abruptly over the weekend, including locations in Oswego and Syracuse.
Oswego Mayor Billy Barlow is now offering former Friendly's employees the first chance at seasonal temporary jobs working for the Department of Public Works until they're able to find another more permanent job. Our Jack Geddes is live from West Bridge Street and has been talking to some of those former Friendly's employees. Jack, what do you got for us?
Josh and Samantha, if you were driving by just about a week ago, you would see the big red Friendly sign and the parking lot filled. Today, the sign is blacked out and the parking lot is empty. The closing came as a surprise to many Oswego residents, as well as former Friendly's employee Kira Sanders, who found out just after training she did not have a job anymore.
I got on Facebook, and somebody that I work with at Ruby Tuesdays had put on a post that was, "Oh my gosh, Friendly's closed." And I was like, wait, what?
Another former Friendly's employee, Lexi Hanna, says in 2016, Friendly's received a new regional manager, but he was only given half the region due to lack of experience. He was in charge of the 14 Friendly's which closed last week. Hanna says the Friendly's in Oswego often was understocked and was already in jeopardy of closing in 2017. Many of the Friendly's closed abruptly with just a sign on the door, and Kira Sanders says management did not give them any notice.
Nobody got any warning. They're supposed to give us 60 days notice. Nobody got any warning. I couldn't even get a hold of the manager. They won't even, they wouldn't even contact me. So it's...
Senator Chuck Schumer is conducting an investigation to see if Friendly's violated any labor laws. Live on West Bridge Street, Jack Geddes, Oswego Now.
The closest Friendly's still open in the area is 40 minutes away in Liverpool.
As the new fiscal year begins for New York State, there are important budget changes coming that everybody should know. Our Evan Bailey broke down the budget line by line to figure out what changes will impact you the most.
On March 31st, the 2020 New York State budget was approved by the Senate and Assembly in Albany. For residents, there are some important things to know about changes to come in the state. Perhaps the most controversial change is the ban on single-use plastic bags throughout the state. As part of the governor's effort to make the state carbon neutral, this will prevent stores like Walmart and Wegmans from handing you bags when you check out starting in March 2020. This causes some confusion on the Senate floor as the Rochester-based grocery chain was brought up to figure out exactly what kind of bags will be banned. Many counties are also opting out of a part of the law that allows for a tax on paper bags, including Oswego. Additionally, the budget introduced reforms to the criminal justice system, eliminating cash bail for minor offenses, but also preventing police agencies from releasing mugshots when individuals are arrested. Locally, at least 2 county sheriffs have said that the law is up to interpretation. Oneida County Sheriff Rob Mashel released a statement saying, in part, "The public safety and the transparency of the sheriff's office have always been priorities of ours, and that's why we will continue to release the photos of those we arrest." Lewis, Madison, Cayuga, and Oswego counties will all continue to release mugshots, while Onondaga County, the City of Syracuse, and the New York State Police will no longer release photos.
So, Evan, are there any other big budget changes coming this year?
Well, one of the most important things is there's over $1 billion in the state budget that is being allocated to education, along with a tax cap on the property taxes. There's a 2% limit, which has been in place previously, but it's just finally been codified as a permanent law. Other things include reforms to the MTA down in New York City. They're closing 3 state prisons, and they're also mandating that all police agencies in New York State create a use of force policy for any lethal, non-lethal, or less than lethal options. And they're mandated to report them if they occur to the state's Department of Justice.
Wow, definitely a big year for the state budget. A lot of changes that everyone should be aware of.
Yep.
A missing sheet of paper could cost the Fulton School District up to $1 million. In 2016, Golden Sun Bus Services provided transportation for the Fulton School District. The district did not have a documented contract that showed their agreement with the bus company. Because of this, the state is allowed to fine the school district up to $1 million for not following the proper protocol. The fine is still listed as part of this year's state budget, and district leaders are worried that the state will collect the fine. They're working with the governor's office, hoping the fine is forgiven.
SUNY Oswego students voted for next year's Student Association president more than a month ago, and now they're still waiting to hear the results. As Brittany Cairns explains, this year's election is more controversial and secretive than in years past.
The SUNY Oswego Student Association has been in the middle of an internal investigation for weeks. SA officials are looking into election laws violated by both candidates for president, Omar Van Reenen and Baldwin Lawson. According to SA Chief Justice Brian Monahan, these violations include pressuring students into voting, having unattended flyers in lounge spaces, and posting flyers outside of designated posting boards. While the investigation continues, next year's president remains nameless. Student Cassidy Paulo says she is worried there will be a delay in the presidential training process.
There's not much time left in the semester, and I know that they start the training process early, like they start passing the torch during the summer, and if we don't have a president by that time, not much is going to be able to get done.
Although a president has not been named as of yet, Monahan says he's made progress by working with the Attorney General and Solicitor General.
We came up with a resolution that withdraws a candidate from the election.
Although it was not related to the resolution, current President Omar Van Reenen has dropped out of the election. I reached out to Van Reenen for an interview but received no response. However, in a quote to the Oswegonian, Van Reenen said, "I have decided to rescind my candidacy from the Student Association election. I believe this is best for the organization to step aside as the courts carry out the investigative process with those that are involved." The Election Day campaigning violations of both Van Reenen and Lawson have led other Student Association officials to review their bylaws.
The Senate is trying to revise their bylaws and their election laws currently, right now. By revising those bylaws and those election laws and having clear language, I think it would be very beneficial for future elections.
When talking to Monahan regarding a timeline for the results of the investigation, he avoided giving a clear answer, leaving students to wonder who will be their next student body president. Brittany Cairns, Oswego Now.
SUNY Oswego Student Association is still meeting weekly to conduct business.
In light of last week's tragedy where 10-year-old South Carolina student Renaya Wright died after a result of in-school bullying, we sat down with Oswego Middle School principal to learn what actions they're taking to prevent bullying from occurring.
But we are bound by DASA. So things that are different now about DASA, you have to have a reporting system in place that all the students know about, the parents know about, it's up on your website, and you have to document everything.
14% of middle school students consider suicide, and most of those cases were triggered by classroom bullying, with 160,000 children wanting to stay home every day for fear of bullying.
So I would never say we're 100% bullying free, but I'm confident in saying that every single report that comes to us is followed up on and followed up on again a few days later to assure that the students are safe.
Principal Farrow has said that the 70% of the DASA reports that she receives ended up being unfounded, which is a move in the right direction in preparing students for high school and will help create a more positive classroom community.
If you're passing a work zone soon, be sure to drive carefully and give the workers a wave. April 8th was the beginning of National Work Zone Awareness Week. Spring is the start of construction season where more workers will be out repairing the roads, and this year's theme is Drive Like You Work Here. During this week, drivers and motorists are reminded to slow down and drive carefully near work zones, especially on highways throughout the construction season. In its most recent report in 2016, the New York State Department of Transportation reported 662 crashes in construction work zones on state roads and bridges.
Because we had an incident downstate where whoever drove through a work zone practice that we had the street closed and they ended up going in one of our ditches. That's not good when that happens, but it was just you know, we have those rogue people out there and it's difficult.
National Work Safety Zone wants drivers to understand that maintenance crews depend on drivers being alert and cautious as workers' lives are at risk every single day. If you would like to know more about work zone safety tips, you can visit our website, oswegonow.net.
Coming up in sports, the Oswego men's baseball team made history this week. Find out how they added to the record books.
And after, I speak with the Director of Arts Programming at SUNY Oswego about some special visitors the library had this week.
But first, April is in full swing, and the weather has finally warmed up today. Joe, will this nice weather stay?
Yeah, the sun has been out in our area all day today. We've had very warm conditions, although conditions have been windy as well. Coming up after the break, I'll have more on this rain that will impact our region later tonight.